You're listening to Week in Review on 90.3 WRST, the radio station of the Titans. Week in Review is a 30-minute student-run news program that focuses on stories from the UW Oshkosh campus, the city of Oshkosh, state and national headlines, as well as a weekend weather forecast. Week in Review can be heard every Friday from 5 to 5:30 p.m. on 90.3 WRST-FM, the Radio FX app, or streamed on 90.3 WRST.org. This week's news starts now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Friday. It is great to be here for another episode of Week in Review for the spring 2024 semester. We will be taking a hiatus for UW Oshkosh's spring break next week, so this will be the final episode for March. Don't worry though, we will be back April 5th with a new episode of Week in Review. I'm your host and WRST News Director, Jacob Blank, and as usual, tonight we will have a bunch of students who will be contributing their voices to the show, state and national headlines, sports, and a weekend weather forecast. We have a lot of news to discuss tonight as the UW Oshkosh student government held its elections on Monday and Tuesday. An Oshkosh man who pointed a gun at children is headed to prison, and the U.S. Justice Department sues Apple over antitrust laws. That's all coming up in this week's edition of Week in Review. Let's get right into the top stories of the week on and around the UWO campus. Jumping right into some campus news, the UW Oshkosh student government held its election on Monday and Tuesday. Taylor Calling has more.
Earlier this week, the Oshkosh student government election took place to vote for the 2024-2025 student government leaders. 2 pairs of candidates ran for president and vice president, along with 7 candidates who ran for seats on the OSG Senate. As of Wednesday, March 20th, the unofficial results of the election came in. Jack Maritz was elected president and Brett Einberger was elected vice president. 6 of the 7 students who ran for seats on the Senate were also elected. Any vacant seats remaining on the Senate will be open to any student who wishes to apply to be appointed for next year. Students can contact the OSG office for more information. OSG's advisor, Tyler Claver, said in an email that the official results will be confirmed and reviewed by the OSG Election Commission and sent to the OSG Senate for final approval in the coming days. This is Taylor Calling with WRST News.
Former Milwaukee Bucks guard Vin Baker spoke about reducing the stigma around substance abuse disorders at the We Heart You Recovery in Our Community event March 15th at the Culver Family Welcome Center. Baker, a former NBA All-Star and gold medal winning Olympian, said that he aimed to educate the community and remind people that addiction is a disease and should be treated as such. Baker said at the event hosted by the Winnebago County Overdose Fatality Review Team, quote, "Hope plays an instrumental role in our commitment to our work, healing, and sobriety. The reason I'm here is because we all matter. I'm here to help break the silence and to remove the stigma," end quote. More than 370 people attended the second edition of We Heart You Recovery in Our Community, which hoped to break the silence of addiction in the Oshkosh community and to foster connections to addiction resources offered by area organizations. At the event, state and county officials, community members, and those currently in recovery shared their experiences surrounding substance abuse. According to the Winnebago County OFR team, the idea for We Heart You came from conversations with members of the community who are in recovery and their aspiration to promote the idea that addiction is a disease. The Winnebago County OFR team urges residents to call 211 or text their zip code to 898-211 to get connected to resources in the area if someone is struggling with substance abuse. Winnebago County Public Health offers additional resources such as free Narcan and other harmful reduction materials at their Oshkosh location at 112 Otter Avenue. UWO students can contact the UW Oshkosh Police Department at 920-424-1212 or by visiting the lower level of Radford Hall for resources to help with someone who is dealing with substance abuse issues. In 2022, UWO installed rescue boxes around campus containing Narcan and other resources that can be used to help someone who is having a medical emergency. The Culver's Business Model Competition will return to campus this April. Matthew Glocka has more.
Coming back to Oshkosh is the Culver's Business Model Competition. This is one of Oshkosh's biggest events of the year. Up to 10 students or teams will have an opportunity to compete for funding and exclusive access to venture development resources. The competition accepts ideas in any stage of development, from initial ideas to already operational businesses. It is open to ventures led by any students or student teams enrolled at UW Oshkosh or any of their campuses. That includes the Fox Cities or Fond du Lac. Students from all areas of study are encouraged to apply. Students or teams up to 3 will have 4 minutes to pitch their business model, followed by 2 minutes of Q&A with a panel of judges. First place wins $5,000 cash. Second place wins $3,500 cash. And third place wins $1,500 cash. For WRST News, I'm Matthew Glocka.
An 89-year-old Oshkosh pedestrian died March 14th after injuries sustained from being hit by a car on the 300 block of North West Haven Drive. According to the Oshkosh Police Department, the victim was walking on a sidewalk when a vehicle being driven by a 78-year-old woman backed into the roadway and hit the 89-year-old March 13th at around 1:35 p.m. The victim was taken to the Theta Care Regional Medical Center in Neenah with what Oshkosh police called significant injuries and later died in the hospital. The investigation is ongoing, and anyone with information about the incident has been asked to contact the Oshkosh Police at 920-236-5700. Last week, the UWO campus featured a food drive. Caden Hepner has the details.
For WRST News, my name's Caden Hepner. Last week, UW Oshkosh started their food drive, which was located in Reeve Union. This food drive started on Monday and ended on Friday. Tyler Claver said UW Oshkosh, OSG, and student involvement oversees this food drive, which will benefit many on our campus. They usually bring in a few hundred pounds of non-perishable items, normally to host one food drive per semester. However, if other organizations approach them to host their own food drive in the community to benefit the pantry, they will try their best to assist them. For WRST News, my name is Kate Hepner.
Moving on to some state news, an Oshkosh man who reportedly pointed a gun at children is heading to prison. Ted Allen has more.
The United States Attorney's Office says Douglas T. Murphy was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison Monday after he repeatedly pointed a handgun at several children inside a downtown Oshkosh home in June of last year. A release from the attorney's office says Murphy also used the firearm to pistol whip his girlfriend. That led to an open wound on her scalp. A 911 call from one of the children led to an almost 6-hour standoff with law enforcement. It ended when a SWAT team entered the home and arrested the 35-year-old Murphy, who had past convictions in Waukesha, Manitowoc, and Winnebago counties in Wisconsin. Ted Allen, Wisconsin Radio Network.
Governor Tony Evers signed into law a bill requiring that political ads on TV which use artificial intelligence come with a disclaimer. The AI bill received bipartisan support in the legislature, where proponents said a disclaimer is needed to help viewers understand what it is they're seeing. The Democratic governor vetoed 4 Republican election-related bills. One would have required post-election audits, and Evers said existing audits already ensure that Wisconsin's elections are fair and properly run. Another would have allowed election observers to be within 3 feet of election workers. Current law prohibits that. Evers also vetoed 2 bills dealing with absentee voting in Wisconsin nursing homes. Jesse Vang and Katrina Bauer are set to appear in court in the case of the missing 3-year-old Elijah View. Bob Haig has the details.
Jesse Vang, the man who was caring for Elijah Vu and reported the boy missing on February 20th, was back in court on Thursday. Vang is charged with 1 count of being party to chronic neglect of a child. He's not charged in connection to the 3-year-old's disappearance. A Manitowoc County judge set an April 4th date for a preliminary hearing in that case. Elijah's mother, Katrina Bauer, returns to court today for her arraignment on similar child neglect charges. According to the criminal complaint, she had placed her son with Vang in order to teach him discipline. Bob Haig, Wisconsin Radio Network.
U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin has signed a letter calling for a 2-state solution to end the Israel-Hamas war. The Madison Democrat, who is set up for re-election in November, was among 19 Democratic senators sending the letter to President Joe Biden calling for a 2-state solution amid the ongoing war. The letter, led by Senator Ton Carper of Delaware, proposes the establishment of a non-militarized Palestinian state led by a reformed Palestinian Authority. Wisconsin Republicans criticized Baldwin for signing on to the letter. Menominee Tribal Police have identified a skeletal body that was found last year. Raymond Newport has more.
Police say the body of 31-year-old Dean Ford was found by a hunter in October of 2023. Police are not sure how long Ford's body was in the woods or how long he had been missing. Ford is a descendant of a tribal member and had been living on the reservation and in Shawano before he disappeared. His death is being treated as a homicide. Raymond Newport, Wisconsin Radio Network.
A person was found dead at Devil's Lake State Park Monday. The Sauk County coroner said the body of an adult man was found around 2 p.m. WMTV in Madison reports that a Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources warden on the scene said the deceased is a registered camper who is believed to have taken their own life. WKOW-TV in Madison reports that James Yablonsky's father confirmed to them that the person found was not his son. The 13-year-old Yablonsky, who was last known to be in the area of the park, has been missing since June of last year. The DNR says the park remains open as they investigate the death. Avoiding trouble with your parents isn't worth risking the lives of yourself or others. Ted Allen has the details.
That's the word from the Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office after a Friday evening incident. A Facebook post from the department says a deputy pulled over a vehicle for going 104 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour residential zone through Marytown. The driver of the speeding vehicle told the deputy he was in a hurry because he was late for curfew. The sheriff's office reminded young drivers that a reason like that is no excuse for excessive speed behind the wheel. Ted Allen, Wisconsin Radio Network.
That does it for our local and state news. We'll now step aside for a quick break. When we return, we'll have our national headlines, the Student Voices section of the program, and a weekend weather forecast. You're listening to Week in Review on 90.3 WRST-FM Oshkosh.
So let me get this straight. You're a college student who is slammed with schoolwork and the last thing you're thinking about is listening to the radio. Or you're a parent and you have your hands full with the kids, your job, and you're going from the first alarm. Download the Radio FX app today and listen to 90.3 WRST on the go. Listen to the radio station of the Titans anywhere, anytime with the Radio FX app.
Hello?
Man, where are you? I thought you were coming.
I can't. I'm in bed with the flu.
The flu? Whoa. Grandma's about to crowd surf. Man, I'll call you back.
Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is safe, effective, and you can get it at the same time as your COVID-19 vaccine. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Keep on shuffling with us at 90.3 WRST-FM, the radio station of the Titans. 90.3 WRST, the best in college alternative.
Welcome back to Week in Review. I'm your host and news director, Jacob Link. Let's get right into the second half of our program with our national news. Kicking off our national and international news, the U.S. State Department is working on evacuating Americans from Haiti, where gang violence has erupted in Port-au-Prince. NPR's Lakshmi Singh has more.
The State Department is still evacuating Americans from Haiti, where gang violence continues to intensify in the capital and spill into other areas. 18 more U.S. citizens have been transported from Port-au-Prince via helicopter to the Dominican Republic, which borders Haiti on Hispaniola. Dozens more people have been evacuated from northern Haiti to Miami. NPR's Ada Peralta describes a far different reality for Haitians desperate to escape, since doing so requires a lot of money that many Haitian people don't have.
We did not meet a single person who was trying to make that trek. However, what we did see was dozens of people trying to make the trek into neighboring Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic has taken a very hard stance against Haitian migrants. They have shut down the border. They have a mass deportation program where every single day they send truckloads of Haitians back into their country. So the sense that we got was a population that was basically stuck in this country with no way out.
NPR's Ada Peralta reporting from Mexico City, where he recently returned from Cap Haitian in northern Haiti.
Lawmakers in Washington introduced a $1.2 trillion spending package Thursday to avoid a partial government shutdown for several federal agencies this weekend and allows Congress to complete its work in funding the government through September. This year's spending bills were divided into two packages. The first one cleared Congress 2 weeks ago, just hours before a shutdown deadline for the agencies. The second larger package includes $886 billion for the Defense Department, a more than 3% increase from last year's levels. The 1,012-page bill also funds the Departments of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services, Labor, and others. In the occupied West Bank, Israel's military has stepped up its operations in the ongoing war with Hamas, and the Associated Press reported that the death toll in Gaza has topped 17,000. NPR's Carrie Kahn has more.
The latest deaths in the West Bank occurred on Thursday in two different incidents. A 19-year-old Palestinian man near Ramallah was shot during a confrontation with Israeli forces, according to local health officials. And a 63-year-old man south of Bethlehem was also shot by soldiers. The military says a police inquiry will be conducted into that killing. Since the beginning of the Gaza war, hundreds of Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank by Israeli soldiers and settlers, according to the United Nations and Palestinian health officials. On Wednesday, 2 men were killed in an airstrike in the West Bank, Nur Shams refugee camp. 2 more men in Nur Shams were shot and killed by Israeli soldiers. Carrie Kahn, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
The U.S. Justice Department announced Thursday it is suing Apple for breaking antitrust laws. The Justice Department accuses Apple of engineering an illegal monopoly in smartphones that boxes out competitors, stifles innovation, and keeps prices artificially high. The lawsuit, which was filed in federal court in New Jersey, alleges that Apple has monopoly power in the smartphone market and leverages control over the iPhone to, quote, engage in a broad, sustained, and illegal course of conduct. The lawsuit complains that Apple charges as much as $1,500 for an iPhone and that the high margins it earns is more than double what others in the industry get. The lawsuit also complains that when users run an internet search, Google gives Apple a significant cut of the advertising revenue those searches generate. Doctors in Massachusetts have transplanted a kidney for the first time from a genetically modified pig into a living human patient. NPR's Rob Stein has more.
Surgeons at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston say they transplanted the kidney to Richard Slayman, 62, of Weymouth, Massachusetts, who is suffering from end-stage kidney disease. The procedure is the latest development in the fast-moving effort to use genetically modified cloned pigs to supply kidneys, hearts, livers, and other organs to transplant recipients. Doctors previously have tested genetically modified kidneys and livers in brain-dead people. Surgeons in Maryland have even transplanted pig hearts into 2 men who lived for several weeks after the procedures. Rob Stein, NPR News.
That does it for the national and world headlines. Just before we go to our Student Voices portion of the show, here's WRST Sports Director Devin Mahalik with the week's biggest headlines in sports.
For WRST Sports Weekend Review News, this is Devin Mahalik. UW Oshkosh Women's Gymnastics, the 2-time defending national champions, will travel to Collegeville, Pennsylvania to compete in the National Collegiate Gymnastics Association Championship on Saturday, March 23rd. Urine Science College of Pennsylvania will host the meet at Helferich Hall Gymnasium at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Gymnasts will be competing for the team and 5 individual all-around vault, uneven bars, balance beam, floor for the national titles. The Titans are making their 4th straight appearance in the national championship as a team. They won the 2023 and 2022 titles and placed 4th in the 2019 meet. The 2020 and 2021 championships were canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic. In 18 total appearances, Oshkosh collected NCGA gold in 1989 and 2007 and owns 6 national championships overall. The first 2 came at the 1980 Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women, the AIAW, and 1986 National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, the NAIA Championships. UW Oshkosh won its 4th and 18th overall WEAC championship and NCGA West Regional on Saturday, March 9th, with a total of 192.875 points as a team overall. The Major League Baseball season is soon underway as we are now days away from opening day. News broke Wednesday morning that superstar pitcher and batter Shohei Ohtani, his translator, has been under arrest and under investigation. The Los Angeles Dodgers fired Ippei Mizuhara, Ohtani's interpreter, after Ohtani's representative accused Mizuhara on Wednesday of stealing players' money to play sports bets, which is illegal in California, with an alleged illegal bookmaker, according to the LA Times and ESPN. Gustavo Aurelio of the LA Times, being interviewed on the Dan Patrick Show, explains the exact report coming out of Ohtani's camp and his executives about the investigation.
The Los Angeles Dodgers fire Mizuhara, and Shohei Ohtani's attorneys, they put out a press release saying that our client is a victim of, this is their words, not the LA Times, massive theft, and we are going to be contacting the proper federal authorities.
The Dodgers recently, this offseason, signed the Japanese superstar Shohei Ohtani to a 10-year, $700 million contract, with Ohtani deferring $680 million until the contract expires in 2030, saving some salary cap for the Dodgers, but not the start you want for Shohei in his long tenure, his future tenure as an LA Dodger. Well, has your bracket busted? March Madness is here, and it started this past week on March 19th with the first 4 play-in games. This includes 4 teams of 2 different seeds, 16 seeds and 10 seeds that have to play in before the round of 64 to get into the big tournament, the round of 64, and their spot is solidified. Tuesday's matchups featured 16 seeds Howard and Wagner. Wagner edging Howard in that one on Tuesday. Colorado State taking on Virginia, both being 10 seeded. Colorado State dominating the Cavaliers, sneaking their way into the tournament. And then Wednesday, Grambling State took on Montana State. Montana State had a late lead. Grambling State came all the way back, forced OT. Grambling State walks away with that one, 88-81. And then the final play-in tournament game, the 10-seededs Colorado and Boise State duked it out Wednesday evening. Colorado and the Buffaloes slide by Boise State and the Broncos 60-53, punching their ticket into the big dance. And just like every first-round coverage of this tournament, we have already some big upsets. Duquesne of Pittsburgh, the 11 seed, taking on the BYU Cougars in the first round, edging the Cougars 71-67. The Dukes of Duquesne survive another round, as that was the big upset in the first round. Another big upset, number 11, Oregon, taking it to the Gamecocks of South Carolina, winning that one 87-73. They move on. And the biggest upset and one of the bigger Cinderella stories so far, Oakland, the 14 seed, the Golden Bears of the Horizon League take on Kentucky, the Wildcats, John Calipari, and that prestigious program. They fall in the first round 80-76. Just one of the few upsets that you can anticipate for this bracket. It is 1 to the 67th power. 67th power, yes, to get a bracket right. So if you survive day 1, consider yourself lucky. For WRST Sports, this is Devin Mahalik.
That does it for sports. Now it's time for Week in Review Student Voices portion of the show. I'm here live at the WRST-FM studios with Anya Kelly, the editor-in-chief of the UW Oshkosh campus newspaper, The Advanced Titan. Anya, first off, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, and I'm glad to have you on the air as one of the guests for this semester's Week in Review show. I just have a couple of questions for you. The first one has to deal with the academic restructuring at UWO that was discussed during the previous week's Week in Review. As a student, what do you want to see out of the restructuring?
I'm hoping for just more organization. As of right now, I feel like we've kind of been left up in the air when it comes to what the future of our campus is going to look like. So with the layoffs came a lot of layoffs of ADAs and people who directly impact whether or not students are going to be able to register for classes, what those classes look like, and the structure of all of that. It would just be nice to feel like we have solid footing. And right now, it doesn't feel like that.
And then, obviously, you're the editor-in-chief of the school newspaper, so what reactions from other students have you noticed when reporting on restructuring?
There's a lot of fear. I've heard from a couple of students that this is really going to impact their degree path. I know there are a couple of students who are closer to master's programs that won't be able to complete those programs because either their faculty members were laid off or it's just not going to work out with the way course registration works. We are impacted by this in the J department all the time. We have a lot of classes that only run either fall or spring. So it kind of messes with the way that we get to graduate. A lot of people who are in like business or education, all of the bigger majors on this campus, they can graduate whatever semester they like. But it's scary for a lot of students to not know whether or not they're going to have to take extra classes or a gap semester. So I think that's been the biggest reaction so far, is just fear.
And then switching topics, let's move on to the Faculty Senate's possible vote of no confidence in the leadership of Chancellor Andrew Leavitt. What is the general feeling that you get from faculty members regarding the petition and no confidence vote?
I think it depends on the group of faculty you're talking to. If you're talking to Faculty Senate, I think they're pretty solid in their decision to go forward with the vote of no confidence. I feel like they have determined that this is what's best for our campus. If you talk to other faculty members who are not necessarily involved with Faculty Senate, there's a lot of frustration because nothing is getting done. We have this idea that we're going to do a vote of no confidence, but when is it going to happen? What is it going to look like? And I don't think it's being talked enough about that this doesn't mean Chancellor Leavitt is out. It just means that we determine as a campus community that we don't like him. So I think depending on what group you're talking to, some of them feel like this isn't going to lead to anything and we're arguing about nothing when we should be focusing on the problems that the students are going to be facing. And if you look at the other side, they think that this is the best way forward.
And then talking more about how students feel, what have you noticed when talking to students about the no confidence vote?
It's a joke at this point. It might as well be a meme just as Joe Gao from UW Lacrosse is a meme. It's just looked at as like, of course, no one's seen him, no one likes him. We're going to vote that there's no confidence in him, but nothing's going to change because that's about where we're at.
Well, that's all the time we have for the Student Voices portion of Week in Review. Now here's your weekend weather forecast on 90.3 WRST-FM Oshkosh. Taking a look at the weather, tonight will be pretty snowy with some areas seeing 1 to 3 inches of new accumulation. The temperature tonight will fall to 19 degrees and wind gusts will reach as high as 21 miles an hour. Saturday will be sunny with a high near 32 and a low of 24. Sunday will be mostly cloudy and there will be a 50% chance of snow after 1 p.m. The high will reach 36 degrees and Sunday's low will be 32. We will see temperatures climb into the early stages of next week with highs on Monday and Tuesday reaching at least 40 degrees. This has been your 90.3 WRST Weekend Weather Forecast. That will be it for this week's edition of Week in Review. I am your host and WRST News Director, Jacob Link. You can listen to 90.3 WRST on our website at 90.3WRST.org or the Radio FX app. To listen on the app, make sure you type in 90.3 WRST or University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. Also, make sure to check our news website at WRST.org for local news updates throughout the week. I'm News Director Jacob Link signing off for Week in Review. You're listening to 90.3 WRST-FM Oshkosh.